Welcome to StarWatch Now, your front row seat to all the hottest gossip, drama, and breaking news from the world of entertainment. If it's trending, shocking, or star-studded, we're covering it. Stay tuned. You won't want to miss what's coming next.
Everyone is watching the numbers right now. Screens are being refreshed, rankings updated by the minute, fan bases counting every single vote as if it were a heartbeat. In this atmosphere, silence feels dangerous. That is why one name has suddenly become the center of quiet panic. Wang Yibo. Once a familiar presence in the Weibo night conversation, once a name that rarely left the upper tier of voting charts, now sitting in an unusually low position. No loud mobilization, no visible campaign, no confirmation of attendance, just a gap where noise used to be. People are asking the same question in different ways. Is he stepping back? Is he being edged out? Or is something else unfolding behind the scenes that the numbers alone cannot explain? In an industry where absence is often read as weakness, this moment feels unsettling. Because when someone who has never struggled to be seen suddenly stops competing for attention, it forces everyone to look closer. Not just at the rankings, but at the meaning of choosing not to fight for them. And once that question enters your mind, it becomes very hard to look away. To understand why this moment has captured so much attention, you have to understand what Weibo Night represents. It is not simply an event. It is a public scoreboard of influence, energy, and mobilization. Voting numbers are treated as proof of relevance. Seats are treated as symbols of standing. Every year, familiar patterns repeat themselves. Fan communities rally, rankings rise rapidly, and the loudest presence is rewarded with visibility. That is why the current situation feels so unusual. Wang Yibo's numbers are not collapsing, but they are quiet. They are modest compared to previous years. More striking than the figures themselves is the lack of urgency around them. There is no sense of alarm coming from his side, no call to arms, no desperate push to correct the narrative. That calm has unsettled observers far more than a sudden drop ever could. At first glance, the assumptions come easily. Fewer public appearances over the past year. A slower release schedule, less exposure across variety shows. In a fast-moving industry, these signs are often interpreted as warning signals. People begin to speculate about resources shifting, about momentum fading, about whether opportunities are drying up. These interpretations are not born out of malice. They are learned responses. The industry trains audiences to associate visibility with value. When the visibility softens, concern follows. Yet this interpretation only holds if absence is unintentional. What makes this situation different is the growing sense that it is not. Over the past 2 years, Wang Yibo's professional rhythm has clearly changed. Instead of maintaining a constant presence, he has been increasingly selective. Projects arrive more slowly, but with clearer intent. Public appearances are fewer, but more deliberate. Rather than chasing exposure, there is a noticeable emphasis on control. This is not a withdrawal from work, but a recalibration of how and when to be seen. In an environment where constant output is often mistaken for progress, choosing restraint can easily be misread as decline. This is where the Weibo Night question becomes more complex. The event rewards momentum, but momentum without context can be fragile. Appearing without a strong creative anchor risks reducing a presence to numbers alone. For someone whose career has increasingly leaned towards longevity rather than immediacy, the trade-off may no longer make sense. Absence in this case is not avoidance. It is alignment, showing up only when the moment supports the direction you are building. Away from voting charts and speculation, another side of this story has been quietly unfolding. Instead of red carpets, Wang Yibo has been spending extended periods immersed in demanding physical activities. Rock climbing, racing, outdoor challenges that offer no applause and no instant validation. These pursuits are not performance-driven in the way entertainment work often is. They require patience, focus, and a willingness to fail privately. In one widely discussed moment, he slipped during a climb and fell into the sea below. There was no dramatic framing, no heightened soundtrack, just the raw interruption of gravity. When he resurfaced and was pulled to safety, his reaction was not theatrical. He did not dramatize the moment. He simply asked if he could try again. That response resonated deeply because it revealed a mindset that contrasts sharply with the usual narratives of success. It was not about proving anything to an audience. It was about confronting limits honestly. This same philosophy appears to be guiding his professional choices. Rather than filling gaps with work for the sake of visibility, he seems intent on preserving clarity, choosing when to step forward and when to step back, on his own terms. The question of his contract timeline has also added another layer to the discussion. With greater autonomy approaching, the urgency to maintain constant exposure diminishes. Freedom introduces patience. When you are no longer bound to accept every opportunity to stay relevant, relevance itself takes on a different meaning. It becomes something to be curated rather than chased. This shift is subtle, but it fundamentally changes how absence should be interpreted. Public reaction to this quieter phase has been mixed, but increasingly reflective. Some express concern, others voice support, and many admit they see their own fatigue reflected in his choices. The idea that slowing down could be a strategic decision, rather than a sign of defeat, feels almost radical in a culture built on acceleration. Yet that is precisely why this moment feels significant. It challenges a deeply ingrained assumption about success. That forward motion must always be visible and that rest must be justified. There is also an emotional undercurrent to this story that goes beyond fandom. Many viewers recognize the tension between expectation and self-preservation. The pressure to remain present, productive, and competitive is not unique to entertainment. Watching someone with every reason to stay loud choose to be quiet instead offers a form of permission. Permission to step back without apologizing. Permission to value sustainability over spectacle. Whether Wang Yibo ultimately appears at Weibo night or not may become clear in time, but the larger narrative is already taking shape. It is no longer about a single event or a temporary ranking. It is about how success is defined when the noise fades. About whether choosing a longer road is still considered winning. In a space obsessed with immediacy, patience becomes its own statement. As the voting continues and discussions intensify, one thing is certain. Silence has made people listen more closely. And in doing so, it has shifted the conversation from numbers to intention, from presence to purpose. That shift, once noticed, cannot be easily undone. If you have stayed with this story until the end, thank you for taking the time to look beyond the surface. Here at StarWatch Now, we believe that the most interesting moments in entertainment are often the quiet ones, the pauses that reveal intention rather than performance. If you enjoy thoughtful perspectives on the people and patterns shaping the industry, consider subscribing to the channel and turning on notifications so you do not miss future stories. Your support helps us continue exploring these moments with care and clarity. Thank you for watching, and we look forward to having you with us again as the story continues to unfold.